Now, as you know that this is a very complicated bone. So many ridges and so many depressions, so many holes and defects in it. Fissures are present. So, in order to study it very well, we should have to view it from different angles. How we can study it? By means of visualizing it from the front. As you all see that this is the front view. In terms of anatomy, this view is called norma frontalis. If you view it from the side, norma lateralis. And if you see it from behind, norma occipitalis. And if you want to look from above, this is norma verticalis. And the remaining portion would be the base of the skull, norma basalis. And this part is called the base of the neurocranium, which is having three depressions, further parts. Anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa, and posterior cranial fossa. The posterior cranial fossa. So, today we are going to study the norma basalis, norma occipitalis, and norma verticalis. Okay? Now, as you know very well that the extent of this area would be right from the front, the incisor teeth, up to the most prominent part of the occipital bone. External occipital protuberance. From here up to here, on the sides we have got the zygomatic arches, which forms the bulge of the cheeks, and the mastoid process behind. In order to study it in a conceptual way, we should have to move from front back, dividing this complex bony parts into three zones. One is starting from the incisor teeth up to this area where we can have this nasal spine. The next would be the area right in the middle. From here up to the anterior margin of the foramen magnum. From the anterior margin of the foramen magnum up to the occipital protuberance would be the remaining third. Anterior 1/3, middle 1/3, and posterior 1/3. Now, the anterior 1/3, the middle part of anterior 1/3. As you know that it is comprising of the hard palate. This is the hard palate, and this is more or less concave, and it bears sockets for the teeth, and they form the gum fosses, the joints of the teeth. This starting from the anterior margin of the incisor teeth up to the posterior nasal spine, you can see here that this is not a single bone. Hard palate is not a single bone. It is comprising of 4 bones joining together to form immobile joints, and those joints are fibrous joints. You can see here, these are the lines, the vertical line, the horizontal line, and this forms a cross, and this cross is called cruciform suture. Cruciform suture. Starting from here, incisive fossa, here you can see that there is a fossa depression in which 2 canals are opening, incisive foramina. So here this is the anterior most limit, and posterior, here the vertical limb of the cruciform ligament. This is the horizontal limb of cruciform ligament. You know that what is the source of this bone? From where it arises? Can you expect?
Palatine.
These bones.
Maxilla.
Maxilla. How the maxilla reaches here? Maxilla lies here.
Yes.
How it reaches there?
Lower surface.
Yes. The lower surface of the maxilla forms the major part of the hard palate. You see that the maxilla, it rotates inside to form the roof of the oral cavity. So this is the maxilla which forms the roof of the oral cavity, and the contribution of the major part of the hard palate is from maxilla. The same example which I can give you here. This is the frontal bone. It rotates inside to form the roof of the orbit. This is the orbital plate of the frontal bone. Same example is repeated here. Maxilla rotates itself here to form the roof of the oral cavity, makes major contribution for the hard palate. You see there are two bones behind on left and right side. They also unite to form certain suture. These two bones are the horizontal plates of palatine bones. The horizontal plates of the palatine bones. Okay? So these are the two horizontal plates of palatine bone. Naturally the joint forming between these two bones would be called interpalatine suture. Isn't it?
Yes.
The suture formed between the two maxilla would be intermaxillary suture. And the suture formed between the maxilla and the palatine would be palatomaxillary suture. Right and left. So, interpalatine, intermaxillary, palatomaxillary, all they form a cross which is called cruciform suture. This is the posterior nasal spine, and here you can see that the palatine horizontal plate curves as a concave area behind. It forms the posterior most edge of the hard palate. Behind the hard palate, in life, this is the beginning of the soft palate. So the hard palate forms major 2/3 of the palate, and posterior 1/3 is formed by the soft palate. This soft palate is responsible for closing the posterior nasal apertures, and these two nasal apertures, they can be closed when a person takes food inside the mouth. The food never comes back out from the nasal cavity out. This is abnormality. Whenever there is soft palate muscular denervation, or the muscles of the soft palate gets paralyzed, there are chances of re-entry of the food particle into the nasal cavity. A person can take the food and it may regurgitate through its nose. So this is an applied aspect.
Certain what margin is the extent of the soft palate?
The soft palate, you see, if you see from front to back, this forms the anterior 2/3, and the posterior 1/3 is formed by the. This is what you can assess.
But which line?
Up to here, it will naturally close. When it shuts down, it naturally closes.
Okay.
So that is closed. This aperture being closed by the extent of the soft palate. There are few things which we will have to discuss here. These are the two depressions. One in the middle and the depression around its margins. these are the sockets for the teeth. And this depression in the middle, in front, is called incisive fossa. Incisive fossa. Few structures, they enter through the incisive fossa into the nose, and few structures, they pass from the incisive fossa, from the nose to the palate. Understand? So, if you see inside, this fossa is having two foramina. One is for introducing nerve into the nasal cavity from the palate, and one is responsible for introducing the nerves coming from the nasal cavity into the palate. So, this is incisive fossa and incisive foramina. Two again foramina present on the two sides, left and right. A greater one is called greater palatine foramen, and two or three are small behind. They are called lesser palatine foramen. Greater palatine foramen is single, lesser palatine foramen is multiple. Two or three. They pass their respective greater and lesser palatine nerves. Behind, if you go just behind, you can see that the sphenoid, that this is the area where this is the nasal septum, which is the bony part of the nasal cavity, which divides the nasal cavity into two portions. And these are the ala of the nasal septum. Now we are moving slightly lateral.